Free, free Palestine. That's what these idiots chant as they kill innocent civilians on American soil. That's what the Houthis are chanting while they launch ballistic missiles towards Jerusalem, the supposed holy city and capital of their beloved Palestine. A man identified as Elias Rodriguez, 30 years old, of Chicago, was detained by event security after he walked straight into the Capitol Jewish Museum after opening fire at a group of people leaving the event. The victims were Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, a young couple who were so close to getting married. Yaron had just bought a ring and was planning to propose to his unsuspecting girlfriend. Unfortunately, he was never able to. Elias Rodriguez chanted "Free, free Palestine" as he killed them in cold blood. An innocent couple who had never done anything to hurt anyone else. So I checked, and no, Palestine is not any freer than it was before the shooting. And Rodriguez will rot in jail for the rest of his days. So was it worth it? Is this what you stand for? The Houthis today also decided to double down on the hypocrisy, launching a ballistic missile at Jerusalem. The missile was intercepted. Jerusalem is home to over 350,000 Palestinians. They have homes here, they work here, they live here, yet the Houthis are willing to put them in danger because, as usual, there is no care for civilian life. I understand why Jewish Israeli life wouldn't be so important to them, but Palestinian lives too? Anything to harm Israel. Following the interception from the missile, Palestinians reported that fragments fell from the interception in the town of Halhul, north of Hebron. These aren't little fist-sized pieces. These are massive missile fragments falling in Palestinian areas, again proving that the Houthis could not care less about the Palestinians. So let's dig in a little bit to the tragedy in Washington, D.C. Yaron Lashinsky, 28 years old, and Sarah Milgram, Jewish Americans, were Israeli embassy staffers gunned down outside the Capitol Jewish Museum during an American Jewish Committee event. They were a couple about to get engaged. Yaron was planning to propose next week in Jerusalem, and instead their lives were cut short by Elias Rodriguez, a 30-year-old from Chicago linked to the far-left Party for Socialism and Liberation. He chanted "Free Palestine" as he was arrested, revealing the hateful motive behind his cold-blooded attack. Israeli officials, from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar, condemned it as anti-Semitic terrorism, blaming toxic incitement and blood libels against Israel. Flags are flown at half-mast today around Israeli embassies worldwide, and security is being beefed up globally. U.S. leaders, including President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, vowed justice, with Trump calling it very obviously anti-Semitic. All over the internet, pro-Palestinian accounts, especially on X, are trying to figure out how to make sense of all of this. It's not a good look, and they know it. Some are calling it a false flag or a Mossad operation that killed their own people just to sway public opinion. Obviously, that's nonsense, but the pro-Palestinian camp would love to pretend that there's not a single bad apple that exists in their groups, that nobody has genocidal intentions. Unfortunately, besides the fact that that's mathematically impossible, they're rushing to do damage control. If there's one thing that the Palestinians are good at, it's propaganda, because lies don't need any basis or research. You can just flood the internet with BS and try your best to get everyone on your side, and I don't know exactly what they were expecting to get this much of a spotlight on this. Even AOC condemned the attack. Yes, the squad member, who has been very outspoken against Israel, has also called this an anti-Semitic attack. But instead, the pro-Palestinians apologizing and saying, yes, we have some wackos in our group who do indeed seek to do harm. Nope, they double down, call it a Mossad operation, an attempt to make you forget that it ever happened. The French Prime Minister Macron offered his condolences to the couple, although very, very lightly. He said, "I have conveyed our thoughts to the families and loved ones of the victims." At the same time, France is pushing very hard for the recognition of a Palestinian state and urging its partners to do the same. Does Macron not realize what's happening? This is exactly what Hamas wanted, to start a war that looks so bad that everyone has sympathy on the poor Palestinians and we just hand them a state, all while the Houthis launch ballistic missiles at this supposed state-to-be's capital. Insanity. You guys fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Too easy. This morning, a 6.1 magnitude earthquake rocked Crete as shockwaves hit Israel as well. Missiles, earthquakes, shootings, it's like an apocalyptic world. From Jerusalem to Tel Aviv to the northern hills, people felt the ground shake. This is the second Crete earthquake in just a week to jiggle Israel. And it's got folks on edge. Greece reported some cracked walls and toppled shelves, but here it was more like a little cosmic nudge. The Geological Survey of Israel says that we're on the African-Syrian rift, so quakes aren't exactly rare. Still, the Homefront Command is on alert, checking for aftershocks and reminding everyone to know their safe zones. Social media is split between doomsday preppers quoting Ezekiel and others joking about this being biblical vibes. The last big earthquake to hit Israel directly was in 1927, and no one is eager for a sequel. Now here is an interesting one. In Jenin, the IDF fired warning shots at a convoy of foreign diplomats, UK, France, Canada, China, Russia, and more during their visit to Judea and Samaria. No, the shots were not at them. They were into the air, aiming to move them back to get out of restricted zones where the military is operating. The army says that the group veered off of their approved route, raising red flags in very high-risk zones. Videos circulating on X showed the envoys ducking for cover as shots were echoing around them. No one was hit, but the international backlash is another propaganda play. Canada's PM Mark Carney slammed it as totally unacceptable. China is demanding a full investigation, and Portugal has gone as far as summoning Israel's ambassador. The IDF issued an apology, saying that it didn't mean to scare the suits, just to try to keep things secure. On X, some are calling it a cowboy move, while others defend the IDF, pointing out that Jenin is a hotbed for terror cells, and this isn't a place for anyone to simply just walk around freely. So what's going on? Why so much tension? The whole world is on the edge of its seat, and it appears that nobody can get along. Every day it's something else, and I think it's maybe time we start mandating therapy for everyone. Top of the list would be world leaders. You know, though, according to Jewish tradition, as we saw when God hardened the heart of Pharaoh in Egypt, world leaders don't have free will. They are so high on the world stage that God uses them as puppets to fulfill his master plan, which is perfect, even though we can't see it. One day we will know, but until then we can only exercise our faith and trust in God. God has not forsaken Israel in 3,000 years. He's not going to start now. For JFE.com, this has been Overnight Israel. We will catch you next time.